Hi, Soma. Welcome to Melbourne. It's good to see you in person.
I know. Isn't it great that we both are finally in the same room
I know that's
recording an episode
it,
together?
it's so cool at the same time weird because you're normally on the screen and now you're here.
Yeah. Yeah, so we might have to do this and this. Like, what I mean is that look at the screen, the camera, and then look at you because we are talking to each other in person.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Cool. So how was your experience? We have Kanban Australia in tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Are we
Yes.
ready? Everything is good as an
Yes.
organizer? Yeah.
Yes, as an organizing committee, we have tried our best to make it better for the participant and the speaker. And I
Lovely.
really hope that everyone enjoys.
Good. And as a speaker, I'm not ready. But anyway.
We'll see about it tomorrow.
All right. So how was the weather in Melbourne? Is this
Let's not talk about the Melbourne weather because you forgot to mention that it's like freezing in Melbourne and I almost died, like literally.
well, the default weather in Melbourne is cold.
Uh yes,
Yeah.
we should be announcing soon that it's gonna snow in Melbourne, maybe, because that would justify how the weather is.
All right, Soma, what have you heard recently that surprised you and you want to talk about it, especially today that we here in person in Melbourne?
Awesome. So I don't want to talk about anything serious today, but this is something I have read on LinkedIn, where Kanban was called just a scheduling system. So yes, maybe that's something we can talk about. That okay, if Kanban is a scheduling system.
So can we maybe define what scheduling system is? Can you maybe define it first so everyone on the same page? Then we can talk and see if Kanban is a scheduling or not.
Well, okay, and this is again my interpretation of it. So for me, if I'm thinking of a scheduling system, I would look at my calendar. Because you can input things that when something needs to happen, you can put a date on it, a reminder maybe. And like for example, birthdays, like again a question, do you remember your wife's birthday every year?
Yeah.
Without looking at your calendar?
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably also you're saying this because your wife could be listening. That could be it.
No, it's easy for me, but yeah, I know what you're saying. So you
Yes.
keep going.
So like the calendar will help you to, like remind you that this is when something needs to happen and you work towards it. So it could be anything like, party, vacation, whatever. Now, when it comes to delivery, when it comes to organization, customers, so we also need to deliver things based on.
So before we go to the delivery and company, so when we talk about scheduling system, we're talking about a system that show us what needs to happen when.
Yes. Especially the milestone, maybe.
Yeah.
Like the deadlines, the delivery.
And now we wanted to see if Kanban is a scheduling system or not, or can help with the scheduling system or not. So I think, first of all, Kanban, it's not just a scheduling system.
Definitely.
But because Kanban, visualize everything, including deadlines. And I understand some people believe that there is no deadline in Agile or whatever, but there is deadline as customer point of view. There are works that must be done by particular time, otherwise it has no value. And especially in large organization, in government, bank, insurance, there are deadlines. And by visualizing the deadlines on the card, on the work, and also I don't want to talk about the different classes of service and cost of delay and stuff like that, but probably some people already familiar with fixed date in Kanban. So that's one of the classes of service because there are some work with the deadline. And Kanban help to remind everyone by visualizing the deadline that this task or this work must be delivered by that time.
Yes.
And if you will look at Kanban from this angle, then Kanban can help to improve your schedule and help to build a schedule system. But Kanban is not just a scheduling system.
Definitely. And that's where my next point would be. So whenever we think of a scheduling system, it's very linear, where we kind of input when something needs to happen.
Yes.
Now, if you take a step back, and every Kanban practitioner, whoever is practicing Kanban, they would know that we have lead time in Kanban.
That's right. Yes.
Now, we did have a chat about lead time in our last episode, and we can have lead time based on different kind of work. So when we are talking about fixed date, let's take an example. The fixed date, and in every organization, big or small, there will be a part of the service would be, tied to it.
Yes.
That's like more regulatory or compliance. And that's one of the best example of fixed date.
Yeah.
That if they don't deliver or do that work by that day, there will be huge impact on the business. And it wouldn't have any value to the customer anymore. So when those kind of work comes into your backlog or into your options, so again, an example. So if you have something that needs to, there is a regulatory requirement that you need to deliver it in 6 months.
Yes.
And by looking at the lead time, that kind of work in history with the same team member, same team size, have taken you around 3 months to do.
Yeah.
So what you are doing, basically, you are making a very sophisticated scheduling system, because you are not making it linear, that it needs to happen in 6 months, but you are also are able to make decisions when should you start it, so that you can deliver it on time.
That's right. And also when you start it, and then when it will be finished, because there are some external dependency most of the time. So when you finish the work, then there might be another team to release it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they have their own lead time. They need some time, right?
Yes.
So you can't say, if the deadline is 1st of July, I finish the work 30th of June.
Yeah.
Right? That's not acceptable, because the external team, the release team, needs maybe another 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you finish it on 30th of June, then it will be delivered 2 weeks after the deadline.
Yes.
So you need to make sure to deliver it for the next team or next person when that person expected.
Yeah.
Right? And then the work will be delivered to the customer at the right time.
At the right time. Now let's assume that we know, with all the dependencies and the delay, it has taken us more or less 3 months to complete.
Yes.
And that's our lead time, average lead time. Now, when we are getting the work planned, so we know that we have other priorities on our backlog. So that is where it is very important that you don't have to start working on it now, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the data and the metrics are going to help you.
That's right.
Because you can actually get something else done and then pick it up with, like, say, 1 month of buffer, and you start working on it. You know that even if things go wrong, you'll still be able to deliver it on time. So this is also a concept called, like, understanding the shelf life of any service or product.
Yep.
So you do have to understand that when to start working on something so that it doesn't lose the value.
That's right.
So that's really important. And if I have to go back to, like, again, some of the debates that we keep seeing on LinkedIn, it's always about either or Scrum or Kanban. Now let's take the same scenario. If you are practicing Scrum and you have sprints and you work in a bank, you have regulatory compliance things in your backlog, there is a fixed date associated to it, a deadline, which is again 6 months, after 6 months. Yeah. So you can still use the same logic and Kanban metrics and data to understand which sprint you need to start the work so that you can deliver it on time.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think one thing we recently started talking about in Kanban University and the courses is how you can improve Scrum with Kanban. And one thing you can use, and I use it with Scrum team and help me and the teams a lot, is calculating the lead time. Right? How long it takes for your team to be done and how long the next team require.
Yes.
Right? So you need to always be mindful of the next team, next person, not just yourself. Right? So yeah, as you said, calculating the lead time, collecting those data, regardless what you do, Scrum, Waterfall, or whatever, just flow-based approach, it helps you because lead time show you how long it took and how long it took before. It can help you to predict how long probably will take in the future.
Definitely, yes. And definitely where I work or coach, we also apply Scrum, like we practice Scrums at team level, but we have a lot of metrics, which is from the Kanban. Like for example, lead time, or in some organization, it is called as cycle time.
Yeah.
Which means exactly the same.
Another thing I really like, some people call it time to market. I like this one.
Definitely.
In fact, better than lead time because it makes more sense to people. And that's basically what we measure. How long it took until it goes to the market. Right?
Yeah, yes. The time to market would be like in Kanban language,
customer lead time. Yeah.
Well, so sometimes we talk about the system lead time, which is like, the team.
Yeah.
Focusing on the team, how long they will take.
That's right.
Customer lead time is also another very important metrics to take care of, because after all, your customer is the most important element in everything. So when we think about it, again, to close the argument that I started with, that if people think that Kanban is a scheduling system, then I would say it is a really, really brilliant, sophisticated one, which can take into account of all the different complexity that is required to deliver services or product to our customer.
So I think if you need a scheduling system, and I like that I keep saying schedule, you say schedule.
Yes.
I like that. But anyway, so if you think scheduling system required help you and your team and organization, then Kanban helps you. And if you think Kanban helps you, then use it.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you think scheduling system is absolutely rubbish and we don't need it, then that's different story, right? But I definitely sure that Kanban can help to improve your scheduling system.
Of course, definitely. And again, the end note or the summary what we get from is that it's never either or.
Yes.
It's not, there's no war going on
between
Scrum and Kanban.
Yeah, I think a few episodes ago we talked about Scrum and Kanban. And this is something that multiple people told me. In our organization, we use Scrum and we can't use Kanban.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it might be a little bit irrelevant to scheduling topic, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I asked them, do you have a board? And almost everyone said yes. And I was like, you're already using Kanban practices and tools and combine it with Scrum and you get some benefit.
Yeah.
So we never said don't do Scrum. If Scrum helps you, do continue using it. Use Kanban to improve your Scrum.
Yes.
And that includes Kanban board.
Yeah.
Because the Scrum doesn't have the board. So everyone already use Kanban practices and tools, especially the Kanban board, in Scrum, in Waterfall, and in the best way of working that we created in this ways of working. New ways of working. That's a new thing, right?
Yes.
So whatever the ways of working that you came up with, you are using Kanban board. I'm using here. See, it's here, and that's my house, my daughter.
I don't know why that isn't done, but that's a different topic.
The home loan, I wanted to talk to bank about the home loan.
Oh,
so it's done. I talked to them.
That's really cool. We have a Kanban board for that. Now, going back to our topic.
Yeah, and we probably running out of time, so it would be good to start summarizing.
Let's summarize it.
Yes.
Let's summarize what we spoke today. So we started with something that we read on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Where someone mentioned that Kanban is just a scheduling system. Scheduling in your word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we spoke about that, yes, if it is, that how it helps. And also we spoke about that how you can actually use it for Scrum as well. It doesn't have to be only Kanban.
Yep.
So that's all we spoke about. And we spoke about a little bit about, like lead time, data metrics, and how Kanban metrics can help you, customer lead time, and also fixed date deliveries, which we have. So we should be talking more about it when we talk about classes of service.
Absolutely. So scheduling system is a system that reminds you what needs to be done by when.
Yes.
And Kanban has some practices and tools that can help you to improve and build your scheduling system.
Yeah.
But Kanban is not a scheduling system, or it's not just a scheduling
yes,
system.
that's the word I would
Yes.
use. It's not just a
Just a
scheduling
schedule.
system.
Yeah.
So yes, it's much more sophisticated than that.
All right, lovely. Thanks, Soma, and thanks
you,
everyone. And tomorrow we're going to have the first Kanban conference in Australia,
Yes.
and hopefully we'll see a lot of Kanban practitioner and people who love Kanban.
Yes, hopefully that I'm looking forward to that, like our first ever in Australia, and I hope that sparks enough awareness about Kanban.
Absolutely, I'm sure you will. All right, thanks
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
We'll come back next week.